Hanrabanan. We had the rabbis want to be careful never to negatively affect the economy of Eretz Yisrael. So they said, Tanrabanan, Eretz Yisrael. You don't export produce from Israel. Why? Because if you export produce, it makes the produce in Eretz Yisrael expensive, and you're not allowed to do it. Okay, what about which things? Those are the staples that everyone uses constantly. Could go, for example, yenos, wine, shmanim, oils, the slotos, and flowers, fine flowers. It makes it expensive. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, it's okay. You can export wine. Why? Because we want it's fine for the, why? It's good for the price of wine to go up. Why? So people shouldn't drink so much. If nation stop stinning. If people drink a lot, they do have errors. And they do have errors. Better let the price go up. It's better. He says the same way you don't leave from Eretz Yisrael. Also, you don't go from Eretz Yisrael to Syria. There was a machlokes always about Syria, whether it had the din of Eretz Yisrael or not. Why David HaMelech conquered it, and they're all different reasons. Either he conquered it by himself and he wasn't commanded, or he would conquer it by himself and the rest of not all of Israel joined in. All these things are called, they have all different definitions. What's called kibush yachid, when an individual conquers, whether it gets the kedusha of Eretz Yisrael. So he held obviously that the same way you can't take the chutz la'aretz, you say, well, you can't you can't take it to Syria, because Syria is also considered to be what? Chutz la'aretz. The Syria didn't have the din of Eretz Yisrael. Rabbi Matur, he said, that doesn't matter. You're still allowed to do it as long as what? From one border town of Eretz Yisrael to a border town in Syria, you're allowed. That's close enough. That's one economy, or it doesn't affect the economy. That's okay. No, about an mistakrin. Okay, you're not allowed to wholesale things that are staples in Eretz Yisrael. In other words, the farmer himself has to sell it. The producer has to sell it. You're not allowed to be a wholesaler, a middleman. It's wine and oil and flowers. Okay, you don't do it. Only the producer has to sell it. You know, the middleman. Okay, used to middleman by wine and oil in Eretz Yisrael. What's going on? The yayin sola Rabbi because wine he held like Rabbi Yehuda wanted. It's better. It's okay for the price of golf and wine. People shouldn't drink it so much. But with shemen, okay, there was where he lived. It was very oil was plentiful, and therefore you didn't have to worry. Even if he worked as a middleman, he still wouldn't negatively affect the price. When it comes to eggs, you cannot make money twice. Now we don't know what does that mean. You can't double the price, or you can't wholesale it twice. Amar Mari by Mari, Pligi by Rabbi Shmuel, Machlokas Rabbi Shmuel. Amar one says what al means what you can't double them. You can't do up till double the price. You can do, but you can't go as far as doubling the price. Amar one said no. Okay, taga. You can't have one. You can't have one wholesaler to another wholesaler. Only once. You don't. You can't have two markups. Okay, yeah, because it comes up. No, the first opinion holds up by eggs. Obviously, you're allowed to make more than a 6. Obviously, you're allowed to daven even on Shabbos and Tzibur, where we usually would not. When it comes to what? When it comes to the prices. If fine clothing, if the price of fine clothing became very cheap, if people are not making money, you're allowed to daven even on Shabbos for them to become more expensive. Yeah, because
I buy a bottle of scotch and
no. That's if the community's income.
Yeah, that's the income. They're losing money. Yeah, they're losing money. Yeah.
We live in a town of oil merchants.
Yeah.
And oil goes down.
Yeah. So you're allowed to daven even on Shabbos for the even on Shabbos. Yeah, why? Because it's pikuach nefesh. Money is life. Yes, and making a parnasa. I mentioned this on Shabbos, but it's a very, very big deal. We do not play around with people's parnasa. We want everybody to be earning a living and to be making money to be thinking. It's a very serious issue. All right, Yochanan could go and kalipishna b'bava. That's that. Like for example, like flaxen garments in bava, the Hashem in Eretz Yisrael, and wine and oil in Eretz Yisrael. The point being, what? When is he compared? When most of the people are making their money that way. That's how they make their money. That's negatively affected. Rabbi Yosef, who the zal the kamasar b'shita. How low does the price have to go? It's when it goes down from 10 to 6. In other words, what? It's almost half. When the value decreases almost by half, that's an emergency, and you have to.
Why does Osprey call it 60%?
Because
That's
10
not
to 6.
60%.
10 to 6 went from 10 to 6.
But that's not 60%
Yes,
less.
it is.
No, it went 40% less.
is-
It went down to 60% of its price.
Okay.
It didn't drop 60. It
It went to
I
60.
see,
Yeah.
I see.
And the main point is that it's once it gets down to almost half, you're ready. It's an emergency. I met a guy.
You're in a depression.
A depression, exactly. I met a guy. It's a long story. I'll tell you not on the whole story, but in the context that I met him. So he was told there was a famous Hasidic rabbi named Spinkorov. So when he was a kid, he studied this kind of clothing for aristocrats. He made one of a kind clothing, for the aristocracy.
Custom tailoring.
Yeah, custom tailoring. So when he went to Spinkorov told him, listen, he said, go make cheap clothes. He told him, he says, you make mass-produced cheap, you make cheap clothes. So he Rahmanis, he had to go through a whole war. Incredible stories, he went to his, with the Nazis in Machshman Bezichram. He survived. He said he went to America and made his whole money on cheap, off the rack, cheap clothing. He said it was right, what the rabbi told him. Anyway, but once if that's people's parnasa, if it goes down towards half already, then it's an emergency condemned even on Shabbat. Okay, Tanarabana, now we learned. They have similar problems. You're not allowed to leave Eretz Yisrael to go to Chutz La'aretz. El in kain amdu asosayim b'sela. It has to be what? That, for example, so that 2 sa, it's become so expensive that 2 sa is already selling for a salad. It's also instead of 4 for a salad. Amr B'Shimon Amasai, but when is that true? He says, that's only what, because when he doesn't have money. It's expensive and he doesn't have money. Even if it's very expensive, as long as he has money to buy, I feel amda sabasela, even if it's a sabasela, which is extremely expensive, okay, lo yetze, what, he still shouldn't go out as long. No, if he has the money, he shouldn't leave, even though things have gotten very expensive. He said, okay, the story of Ruth, Elimelech, the father, and the 2 sons, they were Gedolei Ador. Okay, Parnasei Ador, and they were leaders of the generation. Okay, why were they punished? Okay, because they left Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz, even though it was a famine. Shenever said, "Bateim kol ha'ir aleya batomana." Azos Nami. How do we see from the end of the story when Naomi comes back? So the whole city is shocked, and they say, "Is this Naomi?" But they're going to dash instead of reading Hazos Naomi, they read like Hazos Naomi. Look at Naomi. Ma Hazos Naomi. What do you mean? Is this Naomi? Amru. They said Chazitem. Do you see? Look what happened. The Ami Shiyotza Me'aretz Chutz La'aretz Ma also see from leaving for Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz. Look what happened. She ended up with nothing. How bad it was that she lost her husband and her 2 sons. Okay, Machal Mama Yitzchak. Also, Yom Shabbos Ruth and Eretz Yisrael. The day that Ruth or Movia came back that she arrived in Eretz Yisrael, ironically, it was the very day that she showed up. That's the day that Boaz's wife died. Okay, why? Because you see that because Baruch Hu Hashem gives the remedy before the illness. So the Boaz's wife didn't die until Ruth showed up in Eretz Yisrael. Behind the that's what people say. Adlo Shiv Shicha, until the person dies, they say already the one who's going to oversee the house after that is already there. He said, Ivson, the favorite who was one of the judges, he was Boaz. Why do you have to tell me that? The answer is because it teaches me. By knowing that Ivson is Boaz, I can learn the following lesson. Either the Rabbi Bar Rapuna, like this other saying, Rabbi Huda, that we're going to learn, like he said, like we're going to see that he remarried. This main point. Why is that? It's going to let us know that he remarried. It's going to teach us that if a man marries a wife when he's young, he should also marry a wife when he's old. Why? Because you never know what's going to be, and even if a person has kids, you know what's going to be with the kid. The Amar Rav Bar Huna Amar Rav may have asked you mishtos Also, Boaz the one of them. He says that Boaz made for his collective sons and daughters, he made 120 wedding feasts. Shenema says Vayihilo, because Ofzan, that's what we know, because Boaz is Ofzan, Shloshim Bani, he had 30 sons, Shloshim Banos, 30 sons and 30 daughters. The 30 daughters he married out. Shloshim Banos Evi Labana Ben Achutz, and he bought 30 girls for his boys outside. So he made 60 weddings. He's brought Israel Sheva Shanim, and that's the end of the pasuk. And he judged Israel 7 years. Also, for every one of the kids, every one of the 60 kids, he made 2 wedding feasts. Right? Okay. Echad bebeis Haviv, one he made in his own house, and echad bebeis Chaviv, and one in the house of the in-laws. And that's considered one feast. All the Sheva Brachos. So one for the kedushin. Remember, in those days they used to makadesh while the girl was, while she was still in the house of the father. And and that's sorry, I should have said both. No, so one for the boys he made while the girl was in the house of her father, or for the girls he made while they were in his house, and one when they went to the other house, for the Sheva Brachos. But Kulon, okay, so it's 120. Kulon Ziminus Manoch. Now, Manoch, the father of Shimshon, was alive at that time without children, and he didn't invite him to any of them. Why? Shama, because he said, Kudna. This person who's like a mule, a car, he's barren, he's not having any children. In my parley, I was going to pay him back. He's never going to invite me now. Did he say what? I'm not inviting my because they're not invite me to his meal. The point is like this. He says the whole point is what? Each person comes to a wedding. What's the purpose of going to a wedding? To make the person to make them happy. He says, so what? He's going to make me happy, and I'm not going to get to pay him back and make him happy because he has no kids. It's not right. How can I have him make me happy? It doesn't make me happy. And they have to know, and that's the purpose. When you go to a wedding, you're going to a wedding to make everyone happy. And that's why also eating it's also good to eat at the wedding, because that makes everybody, that's part of happy. Part of the joy of the wedding is they spread the good. They're happy, everybody eats and has a good time. That's the way it's supposed to be. And I used to yell at the guys because you see these guys, it's disgusting. You see these guys, they come to the wedding, and the guy's sitting there with a little Gemara, he's sitting and learning, and he's a big tzaddik. You're an idiot. What'd you come to the wedding for? You didn't come here. You didn't come here for. You came here to make the chazan and kal happy. To sit and learning. What's wrong with you? You gotta stay home. Stay home. You understand? And I remember, and I was in shock. There was one time, my Rebbe asked about a certain guy in the yeshiva. How come he didn't show up at the wedding? The Samet Chutz and the Kala. They told him the guy said that he had to learn, and he said, "What's he doing in the yeshiva? How do we have a person like that in the yeshiva?" A guy was too busy learning, couldn't go to the wedding. He said, "What's he doing in the yeshiva? How do we have such a? How do we have a guy in the yeshiva like that? How do we have a guy like that? That's a guy. He couldn't go to the wedding because he's learning. What kind of who wants guys like that in the yeshiva? What are they doing in my school? Who wants those guys? Okay.
Let's see what happens.
So he says what? So he says, so therefore what? So Tana, the question is, we learn this word Tana. The Rashba takes it out, but it's one statement. But some people say Tana. But the point is what? But Kulon, okay, Kulon Mesa B'chai, but he lost all 60 kids in his life. He lost them all. They all died. I know Damianchi, it could be maybe because also maybe if the discussers because Manoch was hurt or whatever. Anyway, I know Damianchi, and that's what people say. But Chayecha, the Elad Shitin, he says, if you had 60 kids in your life, Shitin Lamalech. If you have 60 kids and they die, what good is it? Okay. Ichbil, therefore go back. But only the Mishitin Zord. Better to go back and have one kid who's quicker and more volatile, who's more volatile and who's more volatile or more viable than the 60 kids. In the end, from the one kid that he had, what came out the whole dynasty of David HaMelech. Okay, we have a Simon. These are all statements. Rav Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, okay, the Salmon, the father of Boaz, Uplone Amoni, and also Plone Amoni, the one who was supposed to redeem the field and didn't redeem. Okay, but Avi Naomi and the father of Naomi, Kulam b'nei Nachshon ben Aminadab. They're all sons of Nachshon ben Aminadab. They all had okay. What's the point? What's the chiddush? Even a person that has merit from his fathers, okay, it does not help. It's not going to protect them when they leave Eretz Yisrael for Chutz La'aretz. It's in to protect all these people and their kids. Such a Rav Hanan, Rav, Imid Avram. What was the name of the mother of Avram? Amasloi. Okay, Bas Carnival. She was the Masloi was Carnival. Ine the Haman, and the mother of Haman had a similar name. She was a Masloi also, but she was Bas or Ravasi, or Urvasi. She was now. So you notice what what's the simon to remember who's who? You don't want to mix up the mother of Haman and the mother of Abraham. Since Tomei, the one who's Tomei came from a Tomei one. So Haman was Tomei. So the name of his mother is like the name of an Oreg, which is an unkosher bird. Tar, and the one who's kosher, Abraham, or his grandmother, pardon me, his name, his grandmother is one of an unkosher bird. Tar, and Abraham was Tar. So his grandmother was what is carnival. What does that word carnival come from? It's so the word like karim, like a fat sheep, like a fat sheep. Even the David, okay, Nitzeves Basad Elshma. Who's the mother of David? It's Nitzeves Basad. All these things you have to let us know. Even the Shimshon. Who's the mother of Shimshon? Tzlafaphonis, okay? Chase and the sister of Shimshon was Nashion. Okay, the Mainafkim, why are you telling me all these things? Okay, the Shuvas Aminim, to answer the heretics, he said, look, even though that you see what that we know the names, or that
Even
they have
if
to,
it's
or,
not listed in the
and we tell them that what that we have the names anyway in the oral law, or they have to learn that they have to accept the oral law because you see we have this. No, so what was Noah's wife's name?
Yes,
Naama.
Yeah,
Noach's wife was Naama.
no, I got the wrong one. Then I got this. No,
Yeah.
Amar of Hanan, Barav Amarav.
What was her favorite dessert?
Yeah,
Marble cake.
that's good. That's good. Amar Chana Barav Amarav. Esther Shali Nechmash Avram Avinu. For 10 years, Avram Avinu was imprisoned, either by his father. Some people say by Nimrod. Some people say by his father. Shalish Bakuta, 3 years he was imprisoned in Kuta. Vesheva Bakardo, and 7 in a place called Kardo. Abdumi, Ado Masni, he learns the opposite way. It was 3 years in Kardo and 7 years in Kuta. Okay, Amar Chiz the Zira the Kuta. He says the place of the Librazira in Kuta. Okay, that place in Kuta, which is called Librazira, is there Orkastim. That is Orkastim, the famous place where Avram was thrown into the oven and was saved. The very day that Avram Avinu died, that day that he died, all the great men of the world stood in a line to Menachem, just like Jewish people do today. They make lines to console the mourners that they walk through. They all stood, all the great people of the world. They stood up to console, and they said, "Oilo olam she'avad manhigo, woe to the world that lost its leader. Oilo l'sfina she'avad kabrinta, and woe to the ship that lost the one who steers it." And we see what the one thing is the Kodesh Baruch Hu is above, but another way is that the Kodesh Baruch Hu is the one who lifts up every leader. Kodesh Baruch Hu appoints every single leader. Even the person that has a very small amount of authority, the person who decides when they share a water hole, who gets water this day, who gets water that day, even that supervisor is appointed by God. Okay, by Mishmayim Mukamele, he's appointed by heavens. Even the smallest amount of authority is arranged in the heavens by Kodesh Baruch Hu. Amar Chia bar Abin, Amar Yeshua ben Karcha, Chas V'Shalom Shafilu Chas V'Shalom Shafilu Matzah Subin. He said what? He disagrees that they were punished for leaving Eretz Yisrael. What we said before. He said because the truth is, even if they had found Subin, even if they found even the cheapest brand, the cheapest grain, they never would have left. So why would they punish if they really didn't want to leave? They should have been davening for the welfare of their generation, and they didn't. Shneur says, when you're going to gather everybody together they're going to daven, those people who you gather in, those ones are going to save you, because they didn't daven for them, they lost that. When we say what, that your person can't leave Eretz Yisrael for Chutz La'aretz, most bezol appears b'yoker. That's when there's no money around and it's expensive to buy things. But we said before, most b'yoker, if people have money, I feel even if it's super expensive to buy, and even if the stuff is cheap, pardon me, it has to be there's no money. It has to be there's money
no money.
And
the price
one
is
second,
coming.
one second. Loshanu, one second. Ella, Amos Bezol, Paris Biyoker.
No
no
money,
money.
and the food is
Yeah,
expensive.
Aval Biyoker. I feel I'm the machine.
If you absolutely have no money, even if prices are normal, but you're completely broke.
One second. One second.
Ma'os biyoker, the money is too expensive, meaning you have none. And afilu amdo.
One second, please. One second, please. One second, please. One second, please. One second. Yeah, we're going to see in 1 second what it means. Hold on 1 second. We have 1 second, please. Okay, Alamos Bazolo appears Biyoka. We only can go out what if the money's cheap and the produce is expensive. Alamos Biyoka, if the money is expensive. And please wait 1 second. I feel I'm the even if the produce is very cheap, they're selling 4 stuff for a seller, yotzin, you still leave. Okay, and what's the simon pella pol, etc., etc. Here's the principle. They hear these because I remember back in the old days, kind of Kaiman Arbasai Bisella. I remember when you could buy 4 saw Bisella, 4 saw for 1 sella. Yeah, there was a great amount of produce available. They're having a fish in a fiche, a kafan bitferia. And there was what? And nevertheless, even though the food was selling for very cheap, okay, there's still a lot of people with swollen stomachs in Tveria. Well, they were starving. Why? I mean, the less Isar. Why? Because they didn't have the money. Yeah. So therefore, what you see that what? So if people don't have money, even if the food is cheap, a person's allowed to leave for chutlar. So that's the
that during the Depression. He said the law prepared it was a nickel, but nobody had a nickel.
Exactly.
That was it.
Exactly.
Exactly what they were going for.
Exactly. My grandfather, my father's mother, who was a scientist, so he really didn't tell Baba mices, he was very strict. And he told us that during the Depression, he said they would walk for miles. They wouldn't even take the streetcar, they couldn't afford it. They walk for miles. He said where he davened on Friday night in New York. He came from Poland. So they davened on Friday night. There was a single light bulb. The shul was probably a room,
Yeah.
They had a single light bulb in the whole shul. And used to be, forget about what they should every Friday night the guy would come and turn it off. So one night they finished davening one Friday night and the guy didn't come. So they were mamish, having anxiety that the light bulb's going to burn all night long. That's how little money there was around. So there was one guy there, I guess, I don't know what he was doing in shul, but he wasn't religious, obviously. So he said, I'm not afraid. So he lifted up his hand to switch off the bulb, but he got a stroke on the spot. That's my grandfather told me. I would never tell you the story. He never told Baba Mises. He was a scientist, So I know that happened. That was the point. So the answer is what? So if no matter how cheap the stuff is, if you don't have money, you're allowed to leave. Amar Yochanan, the Hirna, he says, I remember, he says, in the old days, I remember that what people workers didn't want to work on the east side of the city. Why? Because they had such a beautiful smell from the wheat, the baking. So there were 2 explanations here. One is that it was so great they died from pleasure. You understand? They fainted from pleasure. The other was they died because they were hungry and they couldn't stand the smell, from their hunger would make them die. Rabbi Lazar, here now he says, I remember we have a Lazar. I skipped. Okay, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Yochanan. Back in the old days, saying they to show that everything, the fruits and everything was so overwhelmingly blessed. Okay, and the I remember that before the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, everything changed. Kanhava Batza Yeduka Charuva, when a kid would just bust open a carob, it would be so juicy. The Havanagar Chuta the Dushana I'll train the road. There would be a stream of honey from the carob on both of his arms. Remember Allah and the Hinai says, I remember also before the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, can have not if a bird came and he grabbed a piece of meat, the Nagid Chuta from lifted up would come out a stream, a trail of the Mishra of fat, Shura from the top of the wall down to the ground. Rabbi Yochanan here, I remember not only was it physically blessed, but also spiritually was blessed there at Israel. That a young boy and a young girl in their teens, when they're still 16, 17, before they got married at 18, and they walked together and they wouldn't sin. It was unheard of. Rabbi Yochanan, I remember when they would say the base medrash, the modilahon, okay,
You
that what
accept the goy.
anybody who admits to what the goyim say, and he flatters them, okay, what they say, nafil b'deon, okay, a person who flatters the goyim and agrees with them, he falls into their hand, into their idol worshippers. Okay, and a person who relies on them, okay, and he believes that he's going to have peace with them, and therefore what he shows them, he shows up in the beautiful clothing, okay, the lay dilhon, okay, that his stuff is theirs. They're going to take everything that belongs to him. That's in general. You don't, yeah.
You hang around with bad people.
You have to deny. You have to
happen.
deny. You have to deny everything that they. You have to deny everything they say, and don't get involved with them. See, machla b'chiyah. On the one hand, it's written machla b'chiyah. But in Divrei Ramim, it's written Yosh V'Sarf. It gives a different name for Machli and Chayim. So you have to know which one is the real name and which one is the nickname. So Rabbi Shmuel, so it's Machlokas Rabbi Shmuel. Chanamar once said, Shmon Machli Kiyah. The real name was Machli and Kiyah, like we always thought. Lemnik was Shmon, and why did they get the name Yosh V'Sarf? Yorash, it's called Yosh, which is Yashal, because they abandoned hope for a redemption. They didn't trust Hashem, okay, that He saved them from the hunger. And Sarah, what is that? Okay, what do you mean the burnt? Because they were obligated to be burnt, okay, because they left from Eretz Yisrael Chutzot. Chadamar once said no, the other way. Yosh V'Sarf Shman, their genuine name was Yosh V'Sarf. What was the nickname? Machlon and Shosha Gufim. One Machlon because they turned their bodies into something that was mundane, either by going to Chutzot or marrying Goyim. The Chilyon, okay, and the Chilyon, they were obligated to be destroyed by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tanya Commander Amar Machal the Chilyon Shmoni. Okay, we have a source. We learned the Brisa that supports the opinion that their real name was Machal the Chilyon. It's not because we learned my Diktiv, what's written in Divrei Yomim, Yokim Anshe Kozeva, Yosh V'Sarf Asher Balu. You notice the name. You notice the name. Yosh V'Sarf, who lived with Moab, Yeshuvi Lehem Badvarim Atikim. And these things are well known. Yokim, who's Yokim? Okay, Zay Yeshua, that's Yeshua. Shehekim Shua Lanchi Given. He's the one who kept the vow that people give. Remember, Given were the people they fooled the Jewish people. They made themselves as if they were really supposed to be. They're people of Eretz Yisrael, supposed to be killed. And they made themselves that they came from far away and they want to join the Jewish people. Anyway, once the Jews gave their word to them, even though they did wrong. Okay, so Yeshua kept the vow and kept them alive, and He made them water carriers and wood choppers. Manche Kozeva, and people what also he kept his vow with the people who lied. Okay, those are the people given Shekizu Yeshua. They lied to Yeshua. They told them that they want to convert, etc. The Yosh V'Sarf Elam Machli and Yosh and Sarf that we just mentioned in the passage. That's Machli Yosh. Why were they called Yosh and Sarf? Yoash, they were called what? Yoash with Neshis Yashim and the Gula one because they gave up on the Gula. Sarf, and why are they called Sarf? Because they were obligated to be burnt by Hashem. Hashem because they left there to sell. Shabalu Moab. What do you mean that they lived with Moab? They married Moabite women. We yashu them. What do you mean that we yashu lechem? I should have read. They return to Lechem. They come to Lechem. Zurusa Rabia sheshava v'nibekava based Lechem. That's Ruth the Moabite who returned and cleaved to what? To base Lechem Yehuda. She came. And because children who were attributed she had children that were she clung to. She had children who were attributed to the Shevet Yehuda. The pasuk says these are all well-known old things. These things that Machlam became and left Chutzarts, and that's why, and through that Ruth came to Eretz Israel, and she married Boaz, and through that she gave birth to the dynasty of David HaMelech. Atik Yom and Amran, these things that all that's going to happen, it was all anticipated by the ancient one, by Kodesh Baruch Hu. See, because it's written, Matzasi David Abdi. I found what I read in the time of Avraham Avinu. I already found my servant David HaMelech. When? Where did he find him? In Sodom, okay, because already HaKadosh Baruch Hu was already thinking about David HaMelech when he said that he saved the daughter of Lot in order of what? For David HaMelech to come out. Okay, Steve, yeah. Uksiv, as it's written, because it said the angel said to Lot, your two daughters Hanimtes who were found. These are two Mitzios, two found things. Ruth, the Moabite, and also Naamah, the Ammonite, who was the mother of Rechavam, the son of Shlomo. Okay, Hema Yotzim Yoshre. Okay, Yoshre in the time of Gedera Ima Malach Mamlachto Yoshre Sham. The whole pasuk. What do we do with that pasuk? Hema Yotzim. What do you mean? These are the Yotzrim. Ela ben Yonadav ben Rechav Shenatzu. These are the sons of Yonadav and Rechav Shenatzu. They were already behaving in ways of mourning because they knew that the Beis Hamikdash was going to be destroyed. The father told them to behave that way. Okay, and the Navi showed them off to the people to see how good they're behaving. They kept their father's vow that they were not going to build houses and not drink wine in anticipation, because they know already that the Beis Hamikdash is going to be destroyed. Yoshvi in the time. Okay, what do you mean? They're dwelled at the time. Zesh Shlomo Shedom. That's Shlomo Melech, who's like a planted tree. So that his tree is going to keep growing. It's going to grow bigger and bigger. Gedera. What is Gedera? Do Sanhedrin. That's the Sanhedrin. Shegodru Pritzasem Asher Yisrael. They fenced in the misbehaviors of the Jewish people by making a fence around the Torah. With the king and his work, they dwelt there. Surusa Movia. That's Ruth the Moabitess. She lived long enough to see the kingdom of Shlomo, the grandson of her grandson, her great grandson. Shenemar, as it says, the grandson of her grandson. But no, it's what it says. The Shlomo, the grandson of her grandson. Shenemar, as it says, Vayashav Kisei Le'im HaMelech. Vayashav Kisei Le'im HaMelech. So it says what? The Shlomo Melech made a chair for the mother of the king. So you would have thought for it's his own mother, Bathsheba, but you would just say for her, because she was mentioned already. So since it said to the mother of the king, it must be the true mother of the king. So Amar Rabbi Elazar, Lima Shemach was the mother of the whole dynasty, namely what? He put a chair for her also for Rusam of the Tanarabana we learn. Okay, Hashem tells us that you're gonna plant in the 8th year, but you're gonna eat from the old growth that you had before. Below a sum of the ton. Okay, that what you don't have to that's without having to put any. The simple explanation is without any of the substance that stops the wheat from degenerating. But we're going to blow someone. Tell them what he says. What does it mean? When Nachman Amar below Ritzinta, we mean what? There's not going to be any worms. They're going to be lucky. The old wheat is not going to be wormy. They're not going to destroy it. Rav Sheshes Amar below Shteifa. No, it's going to be without the rot that goes into it. It heats it up. And therefore, what? Because if it does, as long because if it gets hot, then it's not going to stay old. We learned a support for. We learned Bryce for support of Sheshes, and we learned in support of Rav Nachman. We learned the support of Nachman. And Yashan, you're going to eat old. Yachol. Okay. Now you think what? Maybe you can eat from old. When it won't make it, you won't catch up. You'll eat from the old, but then it'll run out. You have a gap between the old produce and the new one. Yisrael Mitzapin L'Chadash. They're going to be waiting because they finished the old. If they Yashin Shekala, because the old stuff already was eaten up. Talmud Lomar, no, it's not going to happen. Adbo Tuasa until what the new stuff is ready. Okay, until the new stuff is going to become ripe. They allow, okay, they're not going to have to rush it. They eat unripe grain. They'll be able to wait. There's going to be plenty of old grain waiting as long and enough to let the new grain ripen completely.
Omar,
I think Abasi Rav Sheshes. We also learned the support of Rav Sheshes. So that was the question of it not being there. V'achaltem and Atvur Yashan. That what? You leave from the grain Yashan. Yachol you Yisrael B'tap in the Chodesh. They're going to be looking for the new one. B'pnei Yashan Shara. Because the old one, that went bad. Okay, no, it's rotting. Talmud Lomer Adbo Tuasa until the new stuff comes. Achetava Tuasa until it's going to come. We're going to have plenty of time. You're going to eat old, very old. What's old, very old? Came out what that the older stuff was better than the new. Apparently, the old grain was better than the new grain. But that's only things that what. Okay, that's why maybe yeah, you're gonna have the benefit of old things that get better when they get old. Dvarim like wine and like grain, but things that don't get better with age. How do you know that also those old things will be good? Talmud Lomer, even those things are going to benefit. Talmud Lomer, Yoshan Noshan, Nikomakom, that no matter what in the old that Eretz Yisrael is going to be so blessed that even fruit that usually doesn't get better. They're going to get old and be good. You're going to have to get rid of the old in the place of the new. What happened was the grain stores would be full of old grain, and the threshing floors are full of new. They have no space to put it. They said, how are we going to do? We're going to we have to get rid of the old for the sake of the new. Amra Papa called me Latika Ma'ali. He says everything that gets older is good. Labar, but not Vitamre, not dates, Vishifra, not beer, okay, Vicharsana, and not little fishes. Okay. We're going to come back to you. Have a wonderful day. If anybody's going my way, I need a ride.
All right,
Thank you. Well, both sides. Well, what's going to be?
Mashiach is gonna come.
Who?
I'm going to be away
Who's
from
coming?
2 days before. Well, I'll give you a paper, but for 2 days before Rosh Hashanah till I think 2 days after. I'll give you the paper.
Okay.
And we're stuck with work.